Kia ora, talofa, namaste, haere mai, and welcome to this week's episode of the Niche Case Variety Show, coming at you from Aotearoa, the land of the long white cloud, here to discuss and digest Aotearoa sports. Another banger of a variety show coming up. We are from the Niche Case, the niche-case.com, where you can find pretty much everything you need to know about the New Zealand Warriors at the moment. Did a massive preview, then they defeated the Bulldogs, and I was like, so much happened in that game, I need to do another one. And then I did a massive notebook dump about the Aotearoa Warriors, so you can check those out on our website, the niche-case.com. Also got Flying Kiwis Futbol firing live on the website as well, and it's Kiwi County Tour season. So we got lads playing cricket in England, racking up county championship runs and wickets. So check in with our website, the niche-case.com, where you can find lots of deep Aotearoa sporting kōrero. And big up to the Patreon whānau for supporting the Niche Case directly. We have just recorded our Patreon podcast. We touched a wee bit on the Western Spring situation, and my main takeaway from that was the club, the association, the leagues, whoever looks after women the best will get the best talent. And it's easy as that. And if you're a female athlete, just go where they treat you the best. It's really easy. Any organization that respects and supports women in sport, just go play for them and screw the other ones. How easy. Also in the Patreon podcast, we talked about the Warriors. We talked about some of the Black Caps performing in England and what that would mean for the ODI World Cup. So plenty of stuff there for the Patreon podcast. And big up the Patreon whānau once again. Patreon is the best way to support us straight up the guts. All the Niche Case content, you can support it, and you can donate directly through Patreon, patreon.com/our Niche Case, and we drop an extra podcast there every week. Yesterday was Monday. That meant we send out our email newsletter via Substack, and that comes out every Monday and Friday evening. Nico the Wildcard, he offered his own takeaways on the Western Spring situation. They may differ from mine. Mine are a bit drastic, but you can check in with the Western Springs yarn, as well as domestic football, Oceania Champions League football, under-20s. I did enjoy your brief little paragraphs about the under-20s World Cup stuff with Indonesia and Fiji. It's a weird old world, the international footballing landscape, and the Wildcard was writing about all that, full of footballing, Kiwi footballing information in our email newsletter via the nichecase.substack.com. Sign up. That's where you can find our sporting reflections from the weekend, and then on Fridays we preview and touch on any other bits and news from Aotearoa sport. Of course, the email newsletter features everything from the Niche Case, all the links to our latest offerings on our website, all the links to the podcast, whatever you need Niche Case wise, it's there in the email newsletter via Substack, the nichecase.substack.com, coming out every Monday and Friday evening. Should we do some mindfulness?
Yeah, let's do that. I reckon today is one of them occasional lucky dip days. So I'm going to ask you to pick a number between 1 and 365, and then we'll see what ancient poetic wisdom Rumi has to offer from this book that I'm holding in my hand.
311.
311 gives us a little bit of... Diligently we collect and store our harvest, unaware that hungry mice empty our coffers every day. The ego operates in like fashion, silently, with devastating effect. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I do like the imagery. Diligently we collect and store our harvest, unaware that hungry mice empty our coffers every day. The ego operates in like fashion, silently, with devastating effect.
Yeah, so like I interpret that as like our divine mind, our angelic mind, our higher mind, our mindfulness mind. When we're meditating, we love ourselves. Big up you, brother. Big up you, sis. Everything's honkadory. We're generous. We're grateful. that's our harvest. That's us stacking up our harvest. And then the old ego mate, he pops in. And he's just bringing all this this ego negativity, and because I think a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress is also due to your ego, because you're not living up to your ego's vision for you. And that ego just eats away, just coming in like a gang of mice, just ripping everything apart. And you've got to go out there and you've got to go and find some more harvest and keep working on your ego, or else you'll keep eating all that kai that you've stored up.
Yeah, I guess if you think of it as like the harvest is your energy, like your spirits, and you just stock it up, and then you just find, if you don't, I don't know, you leave the door open and let the mice get in there, suddenly it's been gnawed at and eaten away, and your positive energies maybe going to be lacking when you actually need them in more important times, because you haven't stocked up for the winter in the way you should have.
Let's wiggle into some Aotearoa sport. What's your leading banger segment this week?
What is my leading banger segment this week? My leading banger segment is that we have a couple of Flying Kiwis title challenges that are coming down to the absolute wire, and are going to finish this season. And it's always a big thing when Kiwi footballers can compete for and win trophies. So I'm going to lay some of those down. Shout out a little bit first just to Ben Wayne, who did win a title with Plymouth Argyle a couple of weeks ago. Also to Daisy Cleverly and Marko Stamenic, both currently leading title races in Denmark, but with a couple more weeks to go, so I won't touch on them. What I will touch on is, first of all, the Scottish Women's Premier League. So you've got 3 teams coming into the final round of fixtures, separated by 2 points, not only going for a title, but also there's only 2 Champions League spots available. 3 teams in contention. You got Glasgow City, who are on 80 points. You got Rangers and Celtic, both on 78 points. Each one of them has a New Zealander on their books. So Glasgow City have got Michaela Moore, Rangers have got Vic Esson, Celtic have got Liv Charts. The frustrating thing is that we're heading into the final round of fixtures, and all 3 of them have been injured. So no one actually played last week, although Vic Esson was back on the bench. She only missed a couple games. She had played a couple very crucial ones before that as well. So good chance she comes back into the mix for Rangers' game against Glasgow City, which means if Rangers win, they go top. But Celtic are playing Hearts, who also have a New Zealander, Katie Rood, but they're further back and forth out of the hunt, can't finish anywhere other than 4th, and Katie Rood busted her knee, so isn't playing. If Rangers beat Glasgow City, they can win the title as long as they also don't get caught on goal difference by Celtic's win. And I don't think Liv Chance will be back for that game. Haven't heard anything about it. I think they probably shut her down for the season to make sure she's all right for the World Cup. So Esson's likely to be the only one who plays. If Glasgow City win, but there will, either way, someone's getting a winner's medal. So if Glasgow City win, they'll win the title. Nice and simple. Michaela Moore hasn't played for a couple of months though because of a back injury. If Rangers and Glasgow City draw, then and Celtic win, it'll come down to goal difference between Glasgow City and Celtic. If both Rangers and Celtic win, it comes down to goal difference between Rangers and Celtic. If Celtic don't win, they can't win. The other thing to remember, as I mentioned before, there's 2 Champions League spots available, so finishing second, also a big deal. That's one title race. That's going to be decided this weekend. There's also, in the second tier in the Netherlands, you got Ryan Thomas with Pek Zwolle. They are tied first with Heracles. They were leading, but they dropped a few points in recent weeks. Their best player got injured, and so it goes. But they're still hanging in there. Almost got a major boost when NAC Breda with Matt Garbutt were playing really well against Heracles. Looked like they might be able to get an equalizer, get something off them, and then their goalkeeper went nuts and body slammed a striker through on goal and got sent off. So that was enough of that. Heracles went on to win quite comfortably. So what's going to happen is they're both playing games they should win on the final round. They're on equal points, and Heracles have 4 goals better off, but they've scored an extra goal as well. So if they've scored more goals as well. So the second tiebreaker, the third tiebreaker, first tiebreaker is points, second tiebreaker is goal difference, third is goals scored. Heracles are currently leading in all those, but if Pek Zwolle win by 5 goals more than Heracles do, then they can still win the title. Or they hope that Heracles drop points, which both of those things can happen. Swallow did actually win a game 13-0 earlier this season. But that's what Ryan Thomas is hoping for. A couple goals, couple assists in the last round, and we'll see how that goes. He'll definitely be playing, and he'll definitely be a key player for them. So couple hectic title races there that will be decided this weekend, and hopefully they go the same way as Ben Wane's one did.
My leading banger is my 3 favorite Kiwi NRL youngsters. The first of which is the best. And I think he is a leading candidate for a starting centre role with the Aotearoa Kiwis. That is Matthew Timoko for the Canberra Raiders. He's an Otahuhu junior, also spent time with Ellerslie, I believe. He is starting every game for the Canberra Raiders, and he is in fantastic form. Dynamic runner, tackle busting chief. But this is, it's not stats time just yet, but this stat really tells the picture for Matthew Timoko. Last season, he averaged 109 meters per game with 9 line breaks, which is pretty cool. This season, he's gone up to 166 meters per game. So he's gone from 109 meters per game to 166 meters per game, which is roughly the same as Joseph Tapine, and he's already got 6 line breaks. In fact, he's got 4 try assists. Last season, he had 5. So he's on track to blow everything away from last season, and last season was a breakout campaign. So Matthew Timoko is an absolute monster for the Canberra Raiders. My second favorite Kiwi-NRL youngster, Leo Thompson of the Newcastle Knights, of course, twin brother. He plays Super Rugby from Hawke's Bay, and he had a nice stint there where he played 3 games in a row with over 50 minutes, and he's played another 3 games. He's actually got 4 games in a row playing over 50 minutes. That has dropped away more recently because the Knights have got some of their forwards back. But starting the season, he's played every game this season for Knights. He's played over 40 minutes in every game apart from the recent win over Titans. He has been a busy boy in the middle of the Newcastle Knights forward pack. And I'm curious to see what happens as they get a full-strength team back in rotation. But of course, it's Origin season as well. So I don't see Leo Thompson's role decreasing, and he is full of rugged mahi. Runs hard, tackles hard, and just rips in for the Newcastle Knights. Doesn't get a lot of fanfare, but he will be playing Aotearoa Kiwis Rugby League very soon. My third favorite Kiwi NRL youngster, William Warbrick. Let's go with William. William Warbrick, the multi-code hero out of Kawerau. He is a starting winger for the Melbourne Storm. I think he started the season a bit slowly, but now he's just showcasing all the talent that was on display in Queensland Cup last year with Sunshine Coast Falcons. He's scoring tries, he's making line breaks, he's busting tackles, and he is a very interesting Storm winger because he does have a background in AFL. So I think as he builds into his Storm career, getting consistent game time, working on combinations with the halves, you will see William Warbrick, let's just say, express his aerial talents because he does have a lot of talent as a footy player, highly athletic, a lot of skill, absolute monster, as well as Matthew Timoko and Leo Thompson. 3 exceptional Kiwi NRL youngsters impressing me this season. I've already dropped some stats, so I'm going to keep it moving, and I'm going to drop a Shaun Johnson stat for you. This is a beautiful stat that all Warriors fans should be checking in with. Shaun Johnson and his missed tackles per game. We've got the last 6 seasons, starting with 2018, 3.6 missed tackles per game. He improved a bit in 2019. Down to 1.8 missed tackles per game. 2020, 2.6. 2021, 2.5. 2022, 2.2. 2023, 1.2. So he had 3 seasons in a row with at least 2 missed tackles per game. 2018, he was up around 3.6. You can round that up to 4 missed tackles per game. Now he's at 1.2. I don't have his full career stats there, but it does feel like his best defensive season. It's easily his best defensive season of the past 6 seasons. He's doing all right as a defensive half for the Warriors, and I think that tells the story of Andrew Webster's impact as Aotearoa Warriors coach. What's your stat?
Well, my stat is, in the interest of fairness, I was going to get something nice and good out of the NBL, but I didn't know which angle to go with, so I decided I'd get one stat for each of the 10 teams. So I'm going to roll through that. Auckland Tuatara, their stat is just Rob Lowe's game averages. 18.3 points per game, 9.7 rebounds, 3.8 assists, 3.3 blocks, 2.8 steals. Rob Lowe, incredible so far. Canterbury Rams, but 3 straight double-digit scoring games for Maxwell Darling. He's actually hit 5 out of 13 from 3-point range in that time as well, in those 3 games. So pretty interesting, especially with a bit of momentum at a time where Ty Wynyard is just about to leave them. Franklin Bulls, they're averaging the most rebounds per game, 40.3, also third in points in the paint, which I think is pretty interesting. You can see watching them, they are a team who definitely like to go to the old low post, but they've done a lot of that with starting center Tyro Harrison out injured. So if they can get him back in a couple of weeks, that should get in even more of a boost. Hawke's Bay Hawks, 3 players in the top 8 for minutes played per game. Jordan Nartai, Hiram Harris, Ethan Rusbatch. I think it's a pretty good reason why they've seemed a little bit short on gas at times this season. Manawatu Jets have 3 players averaging 22 points per game or better. Those 3 players are Daniel Pippin, Mustafa Heron, Javion Blake. They're 3 imports, all averaging 22 points per game or more. That's why the Manawatu Jets have been pretty good. Nelson Giants have old Daryl Woodson leading the league in made threes. He's made 34 of them, and he's shot 46% for those. Pretty killer. Otago Nuggets averaging 78.9 points per game against them. Best in the league. Not only that, it's 5 points better than second placed Tuatara, who like Otago miles ahead in terms of the best defense in the league. Southland Sharks, old mate Jeremy Kendall, leads the league in points per game with 25.7, is also somehow second in assists per game with 7.3. So it seems like everything for Southland goes through Jeremy Kendall. Taranaki Airs, this one, I shout out to Mike Lacey on Twitter. I scooped this one from him. They've just signed Tobias Cameron as a recruit. Tobias Cameron played 142 Div 1 NCAA games for Abilene Christian University, which is the most ever by a New Zealand bloke, and particularly excited to see Tobias Cameron. I just had to get an idea to get something Tobias Cameron to shout out the fact that they've signed him. Brother of Flynn Cameron. Flynn Cameron is going to play for Melbourne United in the next season. Tobias Cameron starting his professional career with the Taranaki Airs, of course, both sons of Pero Cameron, Tall Blacks coach. And finally, Wellington Saints, the bro Carl Adnan, Australian import for the Wellington Saints. He has 29 assists in his last 2 games. He leads the league for assists, no surprises there, but in particular, 29 in the last 2. The Saints have stocked up on a little bit more talent around him. Adnan's coming into fitness after missing a few games early on, and there's one thing about the Saints that you can't doubt: they're not necessarily winning games, but they certainly are scoring a lot of points.
How are they going with stopping points?
Yeah, not so good.
Okay.
That's the issue.
And it's Canterbury still have Ty Wynyard, apparently.
Yeah, I think this was his last game on the weekend. I think he's leaving this week, but don't quote me on that. I'm just going from what I remember them saying on the broadcast.
Rightio. Deep in my mangroves, we've got the Kiwi County Tour. We've got some Kiwi cricketers playing over in the County Championship. Shout out to Matt Quinn and Will Williams, 2 Kiwi seamers who I believe have British passports, so they're always playing County Championship cricket. Matt Quinn's got 9 wickets and an average of 23. Will Williams has 15 wickets and an average of 23 as well. Will Williams has a career first-class bowling average in the early 20s. So shout out to him. Just a first-class bowling monster. Used to play for Canterbury. I'm saying monster a lot today. Got to self-edit that one. He used to play for Canterbury. Now he's moved over to Lancashire. Lancashire, who have Colin de Grandhomme. Colin de Grandhomme wasn't playing the most recent game, but he did have I think he had a 67 not out, and he's got 4 wickets at an average of 40. Lancashire effectively swapped out de Grandhomme, brought in Daryl Mitchell. Daryl Mitchell, first game playing for Lancashire, takes 3 wickets. Also hits 105 runs. And if you want to get real super duper statistical, 105 runs in one game, in one innings, gives Daryl Mitchell an average of 105. Last season, I think it was based on the the English test summer, Kiwi winter, Daryl Mitchell averaged over 100 in England as well. So two winters in a row where Daryl Mitchell was averaging over 100 in England after one game of this winter. That was a mouthful. So you've got Lancashire have Daryl Mitchell, Colin de Grandhomme, and Will Williams. Daryl Mitchell, as we discussed on the Patreon podcast, I believe he is the second best Black Caps batter heading into the ODI World Cup, not including Kane Williamson. Lancashire were playing Somerset. They got the Matt Henry geezer. And also, as mentioned in the Patreon podcast, Matt Henry hit 50 runs at a strike rate of 128. Translation, Matt Henry smacked it. He also took 4 wickets at 3 RPO. So there was a season a few years ago, I think it was 2017 or 2018, Matt Henry took 75 wickets at an average of like 14, playing for Kent. That is like, that's what Matt Henry does in England. Every time he goes to England, he snares wickets, and right now he's started the Kiwi County Tour with runs and wickets playing for Somerset. Doug Bracewell, he's playing for Essex. And we have seen a bit of a Doug Bracewell resurgence as far as creeping back into Black Caps cricket. He's currently sitting on 15 wickets at an average of 22.3. So he's taken a few wickets to start the season. Unfortunately, Ajaz Patel didn't take any wickets in his first game for Durham. He bowled 21 overs and conceded 2.71 RPO. I think Ajaz Patel, since the Mumbai Magic, he's taken 5 wickets at an average of 68. And he didn't take any wickets in the A game. He only played one A game. Him and Doug Bracewell played the first game against Australia A, didn't play the second game. And Ajaz Patel, I don't think he took a wicket in either of those innings. Hopefully, what we do know about Ajaz Patel is he is at his best when he is churning out overs. And the county championship games come thick and fast, and he will be bowling a lot of overs for Durham, I believe. So hopefully, as his workload increases, he can settle into his groove and take a few wickets. Neil Wagner was due to play for Yorkshire, but I believe he's still out injured. Tom Latham is lined up to play for Surrey at some point. Who knows? And I don't know if the Kiwi County Tour will get more exciting, less exciting. But right now, dominant performances from Matt Henry and Daryl Mitchell really sparked up my interest. Bracewell, de Grandhomme, Williams, and Quinn were already playing. I think they've played 4 games so far. And of course, this was Patel's first appearance as well. Henry and Mitchell are ODI Black Caps chasing the World Cup as well. So a little bit of a Black Caps context around there, Mahi. What have you got deep in your mangroves?
Well, rather excited about the upcoming Under-20 World Cup, which starts on, I think it's Sunday morning, the first game for the New Zealand team. There wasn't an Under-20 World Cup last time in 2021. It got COVIDed away, but there was a very good one in 2019 where the Kiwi team made the knockouts, lost to Colombia in a penalty shootout in the knockouts. Very unlucky. That team was stacked. So I'm excited to see what this current lot can serve up, what they can deliver in a group where they've got host Argentina, which will be tough. But before that, they play Guatemala and Uzbekistan, so potentially winnable games there. They could maybe make the knockouts again, which will be the 4th time in a row that the Kiwi men have made the Under-20 World Cup knockouts. But it also got me thinking about that last one, that 2019 thing. So I'm just looking through their squad here. Where are they now, kind of thing. Michael Veld, full international. He's currently lingering in a stink club situation in Japan, but that'll come back around for him. He's a young goalie. Dalton Wilkins is playing third tier in Denmark, pushing for promotion. He's a full international. Nando Painika, doing very good things for Sligo Rovers in Ireland, full international. Elijah Just, full international, playing for Horsens, top division in Denmark. Joe Bell, top division in Denmark with Brøndby. He's a full international and has even, I think he might have even captained the All Whites at a time or two. He certainly will in the future. Max Mata, scoring heaps of goals, breakout season with Sligo Rovers, full international. Sarpreet Singh, interesting situation for his club thing because he'll be going back to Bayern Munich, but probably finding a permanent destination at the end of the season. But of course, full international, key player for the All Whites, like a few of these others. Liberado Kakache with Empoli, hopefully going to be a first 11 player for the next season, having served his apprenticeship. Full international. Callan Elliott, here's your, I think, what are we up to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Callan Elliott, your 9th full international, recently capped, breakout season with the Phoenix, now a free agent. Excited to see where he turns up. Ben Wayne, recently moved to Plymouth. He's a full international. And then your last one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I must have miscounted before. 11 full internationals. Callum McCowart is the last one playing for Helsingør in Denmark. Hopefully, it might be transfer time for him at the end of the season, see where he ends up. A couple of these other players that are in there. Gianni Stensness would have been a full international, but he switched allegiances back to Australia. You got a few solid sort of domestic level National League type players, and Dane Schnell, Matt Conroy, Cameron Brown, Leon Vandenhoven. Don Woolridge is over in, I think he's been with the Ole Academy stuff in Torslanda down the grades in, where are we, in Sweden. Will Ebbinge went to university in the States, so he's over there doing that. Trevor Vetzlut's also in the States, not at university, but playing lower tier. And then George Stanger is a fun one. He's playing, I think, third tier in Scotland, but almost had a chance to get promoted against his old team, Hamilton Academicals, but after winning the first leg, they lost 5-1 in the second leg because someone got a first half red card, and that someone was George Stanger, so did his old team a favor there instead. And who's the last guy I haven't mentioned is number 21, the third goalkeeper, Zach Jones. Got a big feature in Flying Kiwis last week. Going to get another big feature in Flying Kiwis this week because playing for a big underdog team in Wales, top flight in Wales, they've qualified for the Europa Conference League qualifiers. They've qualified for some qualifiers, so they're actually going to get to play European football next season. And Zach Jones was a big hero amongst that whole quest, particularly in the semi-final where he saved a couple of shots in the shootout. Actually, won another penalty shootout in the final as well. So big hero for them. That under 20s team was absolutely stacked. You got a bunch of players who have not only been capped already 4 years later, have not only been capped by the All Whites, but are actually like key players and the core of the All Whites team in a few cases there. Don't think the current under 20s team will quite reach those heights because that was special. That was unique. But always exciting to see what the next generation, what the next wave of players have to offer, and they'll get their chance starting on Sunday morning.
Question time, and this is a glorious time to ask a question because just saw the Dragons have parted ways with Anthony Griffin. So sure you'll be relieved that has happened. But my question is, as a Dragons fan, what would you like to tell Warriors fans right now?
Well, when you're saying it's a glorious time to ask the question, knowing what the question was going to be, I was thinking maybe, that might be a little bit one-sided, that perspective, because it's not so glorious as a Dragons fan. But actually it is now, because I didn't, while we've been recording, Hook's been hooked finally. The thing I would say, and I have to reframe what I was preparing to say a little bit now in the light of this, but it's just the sentiment remains the same. Really, really important in the NRL to have a good head coach. And the Warriors have one right now. I think pretty clearly Andrew Webster's done some excellent things with them. It's early days too, so you can expect the project to to grow and expand over not just the rest of this season, but the next several seasons as well. Whereas Anthony Griffin felt like a bad appointment at the time and quickly became a worse appointment, and they should have sacked him at the end of last year, and that was the best time to get rid of him. They didn't. The second best time would have been about 3 weeks into this season. That didn't happen, and then every subsequent game since then, it's felt like this will be the one, surely. And Warriors fans know this because they've been through the same coaching carousel as well. It really sets your team back when you're having to keep making changes at a head coaching level. When you get that settled, it makes all the difference, man. And very envious of the position the Warriors have been able to find themselves in. And hopefully the Dragons can do something similar with the next one, because there's some talent in that team. There's certainly some talent in that Warriors team as well. It takes a good coach to put players in the best position to succeed. But I want to ask you the same question as well. What would, from your opposing perspective, not as a supporter of a different team, but as like someone who writes about the Warriors every week, multiple times over the last few days as well, what would you say in answer to the exact same question?
There is a lot there. That's why I had to write about the Warriors again, because it was all just crystal clear against the Bulldogs. The Chance Nickel Clockstad, Montoya, Watene-Zelezniak passing through the middle, kicking and all that. I think having, covered a bunch of different angles over the weekend, I think the thing Warriors fans need to know is that there is a large group of young players waiting for an opportunity. And you've already seen it with Dimitri Sifakula making his debut. Some of the young Aussies have stepped up, Freddie Lussick and Ronald Volkman recently. This is part of the depth as well, because you need a winger. Well, you've got Ed Kosi behind Montoya, Watene-Zelezniak. You need another half. You've got Volkman. You've got Metcalf has come back as well. But I don't think the Warriors necessarily will sign a bunch of players, because the New South Wales Cup forward pack is led by, it's led by James Gavay and some other veterans, but there is at least 3 or 4 young forwards in that team who will progress to the NRL squad. The outside backs, there's Graham Talfa, there's Ali Leotawa, there's Sanelli Okasatino. There is no shortage of young players coming through the Warriors system, and that will be the most important thing, because everything you're seeing with the NRL is also evident with the New South Wales Cup team. They are one of the best teams in that grade, and that is full with young players. SG Ball team, obviously full of young players as well. So I think there is a lot of unseen Warriors stuff that is really impressive with their young crew and how they are developing. Whether they're playing against men in the Fox Premiership, playing against men in New South Wales Cup, they're all impressing me. And the recruitment and development is back at a highly efficient level.
I haven't heard the name James Gavay for a while. That's a cool one. That's a little bit of a blast from the past.
Like, I don't say it lightly. The young Warriors forwards have gone toe to toe with forwards who play NRL. We've talked about that over the last few weeks. Against the Eels, Makatoa, Ogden, Momosia was in that team against the Roosters. Nathan Brown, Dylan Napa, Siwa Wong. Like, those are some elite forwards. Sea Eagles, they came up against Sean Kepi and they won. As well as Samuela Fainu. But the New South Wales, that's the other thing. Those young forwards, they are being led by veterans. So it's really cool stuff what the Warriors have done there. I believe it's under Andrew Webster and Andrew McFadden, the 2 Andys, big up. Another one is Patarika Vaivai, because he's another veteran forward, and anytime him or Gavay plays New South Wales Cup, they are really good at footy, running hard through the middle, but they're also experienced veterans, so it's important to know what they're up to, but I don't think they are NRL prospects. But it's good that they have players who aren't NRL prospects leading the NRL prospects, and especially like making sure that the team's doing what the coaches want to do, that the systems are flowing throughout. So it's just good to see. It's just generally pipelines are flowing. You've got an efficient, effective system. And I think as I find a concise endpoint to this ramble, that is what I want Warriors fans to know. There is an effective, efficient system in place. There we go. Musical jam.
Can I add an extra...
Please
one other thing,
no.
just to
no more dragons, please. No more dragons. I can't do
no. Fun fact on James Gavay: his brother-in-law, Stephen Adams.
Yeah,
he's married to one of the sisters. Just a fun fact for the listener out there.
Shout out Ben Murdoch-Masila, has been playing for the Dragons, Kiwi-NRL.
Oh, no more dragons. What are you doing?
I think he's Otahuhu Jr., so shout out to the Dragons. Yeah, shout out to Anthony Griffin. Musical jam. Big up. Dead Forest has a new song with AP, produced by Dera Milan. I'd say Dead Forest is probably my favorite rapper from Aotearoa, South Auckland's very own. New song, Forest versus Purpose. Just a regular slapper. Other Dead Forest tune to check out is Mad One. He's got plenty, so make sure you tap in with Dead Forest, and also Chuck Strangers, bit of New York boom bappy hip hop. He's got a new project, the Boys and Girls EP. Do love a bit of Chuck Strangers, just good old hip hop. Your musical jam.
Yeah, new album from Maxine Funk. Very, despite the name, very, very gentle Kiwi folk stylings there. Always a nice sort of breezy listen. Also, another single from Pickle Darling leading up to the new album, and then spreading the wings a bit more internationally. Was excited to see a live album from Emma Ruth Rundle coming up as well for a bit of that. What would you call it? Sort of like post-punk, maybe. I'm not sure. Goth rock, something along those lines. So people can have a listen and check it out themselves and figure out the definitions.
I was going to ask, how would you describe the Dragons as a musical genre, and to help set that up, I was thinking about the Warriors. I think the Warriors, they might be in that zone of 2023. I wouldn't say hip hop is. I think hip hop is relatively boring right now, but there is a vibe with the Warriors. They got a bit of a quirky sound, but they're recapturing their boom bappy hip hop roots. It's simple, it's clear, it's concise, and they just are really focusing on their strengths as musical acts, which is boom bappy hip hop. What's the Dragons?
The Dragons are a bar band who have one really good guitarist and a terrible manager who can't book them into good gigs and stuff. A bunch of musicians who can't quite hold a tune, but one guy running the show on guitar who's amazing and should be in a much better situation than he is.
Is he the MC?
The
microphone controller?
I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe Sharon Duties. They might have a lead singer who, I don't know,
he's playing hooker.
Someone on a roof with a hammer. So.
He's playing hooker and halfback, so he's dropping the vocals, and then he jumps on the drums midway as well. But Anderson Park, there you go. Ben Hunt.
Yeah,
Anderson
there you go.
Park.
Yeah,
there we go. Rightio, Niche Case Variety Show. Big up yourself. Kia kaha. Stay beautiful. Church.